Hello, I'm Isla Blair. I played Cinefar in Blake 7, and this is Blake 7, The Way Back.
Shirok, Shirok, I need you. You must come here to me. Now.
I never wanted to be the keeper, you know that, Cinepher.
Nor I the guardian.
You could set us both free. If I controlled the power, that's what I'd do.
You know that isn't possible. We must dissipate the power by restoring the balance. Then you and I can be at peace. But first, we must atone.
Why us?
We were chosen.
I didn't ask to be chosen.
One doesn't ask to be chosen.
Isla Blair has a career spanning 6 decades, over 60 theatre credits, and dozens of television and film performances. For many, she's known for fantasy and sci-fi, notably appearances in Blake 7, Doctor Who, and Space 1999, as well as Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade. Today, she joins us to chat about those iconic roles and her wider life in performance. Isla Blair, welcome to Blake 7, The Way Back.
Hello, very nice to see you. Hello, everybody.
Listen, it's really great to have you on board. You've got an amazing career. But let's start at the very beginning, because I believe you were born in India. Do you want to tell us a bit about your childhood and why you became an actress?
I was born in India. My father worked for a tea company in Kerala, down in South India, and it was lovely. It was a very, very beautiful place. It was not the very hot India that people might know, but it was a very temperate climate because it was in the hills where all the tea estates were. It was lovely, but at the age of about 5.5, I was sent home to the UK to go to school. It was Scotland, in fact, I went to, which was this thing that people did at that time. I think nowadays they think, what on earth, why did we do that? But they seemed to think it was a good idea to send people home, they called it, to England or Scotland to be educated. Which was quite strange, actually, because the education I got from my Scottish school was pretty rubbish. And the education in India, I think, would have been far better. At the time when I lived in India, Kerala then was the only democratically elected communist state in the world. And they had an extraordinary 96% literacy in Kerala, not like the rest of India, but they deemed it essential that every child should read, and they did. Pretty extraordinary record, really.
So who was bringing you up to Scotland?
Well, I went to a boarding school in Scotland, which was pretty horrible, and was closed down when I was 11, thankfully. But during the holidays, in those days, people forget that you couldn't just jump on a plane. It was fiendishly expensive, and my parents just didn't have the money. So I went out only twice to India again, once when I was 11 and once when I was 13. So the rest of the time, my sister Fiona and I, she's 4 years older than me, we went to live in what they called holiday homes, which were sort of places that were set up by people that my parents knew for children who lived abroad. It was lovely, actually. I loved that part because we met lots of lovely friends that we'd known, and I was always with my sister, which was a bonus because she and I are still very, very close. So that was lovely. So that's how it worked.
We've come across so many actors who were born in India. Pamela Salem was another one who's possibly a contemporary of yours. What is it, do you think, about India that makes people want to become an actor? Is it expands the imagination, or what does it do?
I don't know. I mean, I wanted to be an actress ever since I can remember, really. And I remember there was one occasion when we were coming home on the ship coming back to England, Scotland. There was a thing where there was a sort of, I don't know, there was a man master of ceremonies, said, "Is there anybody here who'd like to sing a song for us?" And I said, "Yeah, I would." So I stood up and sang a song. And he said, "Would you like to sing another one?" And I said, "I would, yes." So I sang a couple of songs, and I had that feeling then, the first feeling I had of the audience's response and the audience thinking, oh, this is quite good. And I loved that feeling. It was sort of wonderful thinking that the audience on the palm of your hand, if you know what I mean. My sister, however, was absolutely appalled because she heard my voice ringing through all the loudspeakers throughout the ship. She said to my parents, Isla, you've got to stop her, you've got to stop her. But I didn't stop. I sang a couple of songs, that was it. But that was the first feeling I had of wanting to be an actress. And it continued. And I did all the plays at school. I was cast in all sorts of wonderful roles, and from then I wanted to go to drama school. My parents, they only knew of one drama school, and they said if you don't get into that, which was RADA, and also what's more, you have to get a grant to get there because we can't afford the fees. We'd like you to take your A levels and go to university. So that was the deal I made with my parents. But fortunately for me, I did get into RADA, and I did get a grant. So I started at RADA 9 days before my 17th birthday. Too young, really, but nevertheless, it was lovely. And
That's
well, that's the beginning.
that's very young. How did you experience life in terms of being 16, 17 in this area full of lots of young creatives? What was it like?
Very frightening, actually. Funnily enough, a couple of people took me under their wing, a couple of older people, because everybody there was much older than me, including, I might say, Anthony Hopkins, who was in my class. He was 10 years older than me at the time. And he'd had a sort of career before he started at RADA, and he'd also been to a Welsh drama school. He was very frightening, actually, Tony. He was brilliant. We all knew that he was just the most brilliant actor. But at that time, and I think at his own admission, he was a pretty serious drunk. He got drunk a lot. And when he was drunk, he was quite an aggressive drunk. He was
Right.
quite, so I was quite afraid of him, really. I tried to keep out of his way as much as possible. I mean, Tony admits that now, and he hasn't had a single drink for years and years and years. I mean, I don't know how many years, but well over sort of 50, 60 years, Tony hasn't had a drink. But he was scary, but there were lots of other people there who were very kind to me and protected me in a way, I think because I was so young. I actually sat on the auditions board at RADA until really quite recently. I don't think we would probably take somebody as young as that now. We'd always say, have a little think, go and do something else, get a bit of world experience, and come back to us again in a year's time. We've noted a little tick against your name, and we think you're jolly good, if they were, but take a year out. So that was all the sort of advice that we gave. But I didn't take that advice. I wasn't given that advice. So I started very young, and it worked for me because as soon as I left RADA, I went straight into a very big musical, really. So it was lucky.
So what did happen after Rada? Stage
Well,
first?
I auditioned to be the understudy for the leading lady in a musical called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, and I stood in for her for the first sort of week, maybe 8 days, when she was away finishing a film. Very good actress, very pretty actress, and very good singer, called Sally Smith. And anyway, when she came back, I think her film just went on, and they thought, "What are we going to do? We have to recast." So luckily for me, the director George Abbott, the very legendary George Abbott, said, "Well, Isla's been standing in for the last few days. What about her?" So I got the part, which was extraordinarily lucky, really.
So you opened on the West End.
I opened in the West End, yes,
Good
yeah.
grief. Okay, and that's Stephen Sondheim.
In Stephen, and I met Stephen Sondheim quite a lot because he coached us through the songs and things.
So
Yeah,
I'm a huge Sondheim fan.
oh my, big Sondheim fan. I think he's wonderful. And the ironic thing was actually that I played a character called the Virgin in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, who was this very young, very sort of impressionable, rather foolish girl. And then later on at the National Theatre, I played what I used to call the old bag, which is the old woman called Domina in the same musical. And Stephen Sondheim came to see it, and so he saw me twice and took two of the different roles. And it was lovely to meet up with him again. And he was quite funny about it, saying, "From virgin to old bag." So, yeah, he was great.
So Philip is a huge musical fan, but I'm a huge Beatles fan. Um, I believe you worked with Paul McCartney in one of your early films.
I did. I did. It was it's a little bit of a sad story actually, but I when I was doing A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum, I was also asked if I'd play this part, only a 2-day part in the film A Hard Day's Night, and it was just one scene with Paul McCartney. which of course was very exciting. And I met all the Beatles anyway. I'd been out to dinner with them and all that kind of stuff. And they were huge at the time, as you know. Anyway, I turned up for the first day's filming, and he was very charming, very nice. And we chatted quite a lot and got to know each other quite well. And at the end of the first day, he said to me, "How are you getting home, Isla?" I said, "Well, I'm actually going straight to the theatre because I've got a show tonight." And he said, "Well, how are you getting there?" And I said, "Well, I'm getting on the tube. It's just down there." And he said, "No, I'll drop you to wherever you want to go. I feel the tube station nearby. I'll get in the car and I'll take you there." He had his driver waiting for him, and we'd been told before we started the film not to tell anybody where the location was, and we didn't. Nobody did, as far as I know. But anyway, we got out of the studio where we were filming. Actually, in fact, it was a rehearsal room at the top of a pub in Shepherd's Bush. And there were hundreds, hordes of little girls. When I say little girls, 12, 13-year-olds waiting for Paul. They'd obviously been told that he was there. But they were thrilled to see him, of course, but they were less thrilled to see me and started pulling at my hair and pulling at my coat. And it was awful. I felt sort of under attack because they didn't want anybody to be with Paul. Very strange, but there we are. That's how it was. So when the end of the second day came, and he said, "Do you want a lift?" I'm absolutely fine going on the tube. Thank you very much indeed. So turning down a lift from Paul McCartney, that must be a first. He later actually came to see a production of a play I was in the West End called The History Boys. And he came round backstage and he met all the boys, as well as saying hello to me. And he told all the boys about our scene together and they said, "Oh, why was it cut?" And he said, "Well, I think actually the scene slowed things up a bit," and it did. And also, I think the producers thought it was probably not very wise for any of the big Beatles to have a single scene with a girl, whoever the girl was. I mean, it wasn't a love scene or anything like that. It was just a scene. So it was cut, and that was sad. I ended up on the cutting room floor. But that's the way of the world.
Happens a lot. You just mentioned the History Boys, which is it's jumping forward a long way, but that was an amazing cast where so many famous names came out of.
I
What was it
know.
like doing History Boys and all those young men who became big stars?
I know. It was fantastic, wasn't it? I mean, they were wonderful, actually. All of them, they've become big stars. Well, not all of them, but a lot of them have become big stars. But it was quite strange because I went on tour with them first before we came to the West End. And they were very, very sweet and charming, the boys. And I was the only woman in it, and an old woman at that. Well, certainly middle aged then, middle woman at that. And they would always say, "Oh, do you want to come and have a drink for this?" And I always felt a bit shy to do that. I thought they don't want a no bag like me hanging around. So I went occasionally, but not very often.
Now, you spent quite a bit of time with the Royal Shakespeare Company. What was it like in terms of working with that sort of company? I mean, is that the pinnacle of theatre you've done, or was there other stuff that you like as
Um,
much?
I've done quite a lot of West End things, really, and I worked a lot at the National, which is great. I think actually my favourite place to be is the National Theatre. I love they look after you so well. There's everything is in place for you. They have the most wonderful wardrobe department, costumes, hair, makeup, wigs, all that, and you feel absolutely supported at the National Theatre and at the RSC, I might say. But I've done less at the RSC than I have at the National, and as I say, I've done quite a lot in the West End as well. But the National's favourite. The RSC is wonderful too. Julian, my husband, has done 13 different plays at the RSC. I think probably even more than that, actually. He's done several seasons. So he's the one that knows more about the RSC than I do. As I say, the National was mine rather than the RSC. But they're wonderful places to be and doing wonderful plays, Shakespeare plays and lots of classical plays. Those are the things really, when I set out to be an actress, those are the things I really wanted to do. And I got into the musical thing by accident, but I only stayed there for that one musical. And then later on did quite a few different musicals. I did a lovely one. I don't know if it ever came to Australia, called Maiden Dagenham. Did
Yep,
you see that?
I do
It
know
was
it.
that it was lovely. And shame it didn't last a bit longer. It only lasted about 8 months, I think, in the West End. But it was that was lovely to do. And I did a lovely, lovely one down at Chichester called Damsel in Distress, which was great. That's what's lucky about. I feel very lucky and privileged actually in my career is that I've done so many different, diverse things. I've done very serious plays. I've done lots of comedy series, and a lot of musicals, lots of different things. So it's lucky if you're able to do that really as an actor, I think.
Well, as I tell up your theatre credits, I got up to over 60 before I stopped counting. So that's not a bad number of theatre.
Really, is it? Gosh, that's brilliant of you to have done that. What a laborious job. Yes, I have done a lot of theatre actually. You're absolutely right. And so many different. I think, as you can probably tell from my CV, theatre is my first love. I like doing theatre more than anything because I love the rapport with the audience. I love the whole rehearsal period when you're getting a play together, and I love being at a company too. You know, I love being with other actors and exchanging ideas and things with the director. That's part of the joy of it for me. And you don't get so much time to do that on a film set or a television set. You know, it's usually pretty much let's rehearse it, everybody happy, right, let's go. And so you don't get that sort of collaborative feeling quite as much in a film as you do in the theatre. So, yeah. I mean, if I was asked to do a theatre play now, I'd have to think about it actually, but I'd probably jump at it, really, providing it wasn't too far away, because I don't like leaving Julian for too long. Julian's
Mm.
10 years older than me, so our time together is very precious.
I was just going to ask you. You mentioned television. How did you see television change from say the '60s through to maybe the 2000s? What kind of changes did you see? Because it would have been a lot more like theatre back in the '60s, wouldn't it?
Yes, you usually got about, depending on the length of the television play that you were doing, you got usually about a week or 2 weeks to rehearse it in a place that we used to call the Acton Hilton, which was a series of rehearsal rooms. I'm sure you've probably heard of it in Acton, and that was lovely. You got time and space to rehearse, which is the thing that was made it different actually. So you could try all sorts of different things, and you were prepared when it came to the studio. And that's changed now. You don't get that. But also, the thing that I think has really been harmful to actors at the moment is that instead of, if you go up for a job now, you don't go into a room with the director, the casting director, producer, writer, whoever, which used to be. You have to do a wretched self-tape. So you have to hold your phone at home with a bad lighting and everything going with it, and record a scene, send it off to them. You know perfectly well when they see it, they're probably the director's standing in the middle of the field with his phone going, no, 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 seeing all the different actors. And you don't get you don't get to know what the scene's about. You don't get to know how they want you to play it because any scene, as you probably know, have got hundreds of different ways to play it. It depends on the temperature with the other actors, all of that. But you don't get a chance of that. You just have to do the scene, and it doesn't mean anything. And I don't think I've ever got a job from a self-tape. So many actors say the same thing. It's a horrible, hateful experience,
So
and I just
so many actors have said the same thing to us.
have they.
That that's a terrible thing that they have to do these days, and just to put that work into your self tape, and then to imagine that
I know.
director just flicking through, and
Yes.
you're not getting the chemistry either with the
No,
director
no
like you used
chemistry
to.
at all. No, and
Mm.
it's nice to be because if you go into the room with somebody, they know immediately if you're going to get well, if you're going to get on, if you speak the same language, if you want to try to get on, and also you know what the scene might be about if the director tells you what he wants. But now you just don't get that, and the whole thing is cold,
Mm.
and I hate it. I mean, they even actually, I'm ashamed to say that they even make you do a self tape for the first audition at RADA. You've got to do that. And then if you pass that, you go in and you meet people again, like when I used to meet people. And I used to look forward to meeting the people and talking to them about what their aspirations were and everything. But It's all changed. It's like, I do a lot of voiceovers too. Well, I did, and it's become less now because of AI. AI's really taken over the voiceover industry a bit, really, because they can take a clip of your voice from anything and put it into anything without your permission, without your knowledge very often. I mean, our British equity are trying desperately hard to fight that because it just seems so unfair, because of course it's unpaid. But so they can use AI for anything now. I mean, there are very good things about AI, but there are also some downsides about AI, and that's one of the downsides, I think.
Part of meeting the director is a good actor can take notes, and a director wants an actor to be able to take notes. How do you see that with the self-tape?
Absolutely. That's the thing, if you also want, I would imagine as a director, you want to know if the actor's capable of taking the notes, because very often you can give a note to an actor and they say, yeah, 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 and they do exactly what they've been doing before. You want to know that an actor's taking something on board that you've said. And I think you can only do that if you're sitting in the room with someone. But they
Yeah.
say, oh, it's all very time consuming and everything. Well, so be it. Get the right actor. Really. Very often, if you get people from a self tape, you don't know what they're capable of. They just, that they've been very good at that self tape, but you don't know anything else.
Yeah.
Anyway, moan, moan, moan. But
All good. Now you're very well known by a lot of people for a lot of the cult TV stuff that you did.
That briefcase, it belonged to Lucas. We need it.
The first of that, I guess, in some ways, is Space 1999, where you did 2 episodes. Do you remember much about either of those 2 episodes? I mean, one of them is a classic in terms of the war games, but I'm wondering if you remember much about the 2 episodes you did.
yes, that's the one I think I did with Anthony Valentine, wasn't it? Was that War Games?
Yes,
Was that?
with all the hair, no hair.
My goodness me. Yes, that bald head and the sort of extraordinary makeup.
Your presence on this planet would destroy a civilization that has survived for billions of years.
You think we're no more than a virus?
The people on this planet feed the brains with life.
And defend them with bombers and hawks like those of the planet Earth.
We have no fighting machines of our own. Why should we? We have no fear.
You do. You used them to destroy Alpha. Didn't you?
Mankind is full of fear. Come fearlessly into our brain and see.
Yeah, I mean that was great, and Anthony was wonderful, and we both looked very funny in it actually. So we tried not to look at each other because we got a little bit giggly if we should be looking at each other, and that wouldn't have been very good because all the sort of prosthetic would have cracked, and that wouldn't have been good at all. But it was fun and interesting to do, and it was nice. God, I've forgotten the name of the leading people: Barbara Bain
and Martin Landau.
Absolutely, they were lovely. I think they were on the edge of splitting up then. But I don't know. But they were very welcoming to all the people that went in as guests. I don't remember anything about the one I did with Freddie Jones at all when I wore a white wig. It's like a block in my head.
Something's coming up. I've got a location.
What is it?
It's calibrating now.
What is it?
Well, according to this readout, They're somewhere on Earth.
Oh, that's impossible.
They'd be dead if they were on Earth.
Do you remember anything about Freddie Jones himself, though? Because
yes,
I love him as an actor. Yeah.
So do I. Yes, because I knew Freddie anyway as a person. Actually, I used to know him socially. He had a lovely wife, called Jenny, and of course his wonderful son Toby Jones is a wonderful actor. Yes, I knew Freddie, and it was nice when we spent time together. But it's just I don't remember the story at all. Isn't that awful of me? But no. But the other one I did. It was lovely. And Doctor Who, yes, I only did one episode of Doctor Who, which was a shame. I'd like to have done more, but it was just one, and that was fun. That was except that actually it was interesting. It was terribly, terribly cold when we filmed out at this castle whose name I can't remember, not a million miles away from Arundel, and it was bitterly cold. Luckily, I was all wrapped up in what was supposed to be furs, pretend fur. And they had to, every time we had to speak, they had to give us an ice cube so that we wouldn't, breath wouldn't come out of our mouth, But not that it mattered that much, I suppose. But it's because I think everybody knew that it was a freezing day, and maybe it was supposed to be.
He is proud, my lord. He will never forgive you.
And you?
With all my heart. But he is your son. He is as proud as you.
Time heals. But at the present, my concern is for the king. Why is he so changed? And who are these beings he calls demons? My lord, you dare to...
Be not provoked, my lord. The king shall lack no comfort while within these walls.
My lady.
But it was quite good fun, Doctor Who. Peter Davison was my doctor. I love Peter Davison. I've seen him do so many wonderful acting pieces since he left Doctor Who too, as well as being a wonderful doctor. So,
And of course, the first time you did something for Big Finish was with Peter Davison. Well, maybe close to 20 years ago now.
I think it was.
Yeah,
but
you wouldn't remember anything about that more than likely because they're very, very short recording sessions. So
I don't remember. And also, actually, I've done lots of things for Big Finish, and they all, it's dreadful to say it, but they all sort of slightly melt into your head, and you kind of can't remember which one was which. And I mean, it's a wonderful organisation. They were lovely to record, actually. It was a very nice company to work with, I seem to remember. You used to get very nice lunches. When you had a break for lunch, oh, yes, very nice lunches they'd be. But no, I'm afraid I don't have a very strong memory, but it's a long time ago, I suppose, and I've done quite a few things since. But I think at least I'm better than my husband. My husband's got no memory for anything at all that he did. It's terrible. I mean, he's got... luckily, the only thing he has got a memory for, which is lucky, is that he's very, very good at remembering his lines still. Even though he's 91, he's spot on with the lines. He can remember very well, which is a piece of luck, really, isn't it? Because so many actors, they reach a certain age and they can't remember the lines. So,
how did you both meet?
We met in a play in the theatre for a company called Prospect Theatre Company that we both did a lot of work for. And it was a play about Dr. Johnson and his biographer, James Boswell. And Timothy West played Dr. Johnson and Julian played James Boswell. And I played a wonderful character called Fanny Burney, who became a writer herself, actually. She wrote a few books, very unusual for a woman in those days, 18th century. And Julian walked into the rehearsal room, I remember. It was in about this time of year, actually, in 1966. And I remember thinking, oh, he looks very nice. And I tried to engineer myself to sit next to him at rehearsal and things. And then we went off on tour together. And then it just sort of happened. We got together and we've been together ever since. And I feel very blessed that I've lived so long in his life, if you see what I mean, as he has in mine. So it's a blessing. I feel very blessed that it's been a very lovely relationship. And Julian actually has, I think he wouldn't mind me saying this, Julian has always made me feel intensely loved. So that's a pretty lovely thing if you can say that about a person. Somebody makes you feel very loved. And I hope I hope I've done the same for him. We're a very close family, and our son who's an actor as well. We've always been very close, the three of us. So, and my family, if I'm honest, has always been more important to me almost than anything, really. I mean, I've turned down a few jobs because it would take me away from them for too long. But it hasn't even been something I have thought about. That's always been the thing I wanted to do. So
How have you managed to balance a very, so you've had an exceptional career, a very busy career, with a husband with a very exceptional busy career. How have you balanced that and made the marriage keep working? Because so many actors don't manage it.
I think that's right. I think one of the things that we when we were both working at the same time, we weren't always both working at the same time, which was lucky. You know, sometimes he'd be working and I'd be working, whatever. But if we were both working at the same time, we were lucky enough to be able to employ the odd lovely girl who would come and help us with Jamie. And but if, for example, I was away on tour, whether I was away, I don't know, Leeds or York or Newcastle, whatever, I would always make sure that I would come back, drive through the night on the Saturday to make sure we had one day together. Wherever we were, we'd always do that. I mean, more difficult if you are in Australia, and so the other one of you is in England. But we'd always make sure that we would spend time together, and I think that's very important, actually, to spend as much time as you can with each other. But I don't know why we've been lucky that it has worked, really. I know, as you say, for lots of people it's been more difficult, but we've just been lucky that it's evolved that way.
You mentioned the play that where you and Julian met. Timothy West was also there.
Yes,
Was
yes.
was Prunella Scales on the scene back
She was
then, or
very
did you
much on the
meet
scene.
later?
No, she
Yeah.
was very much on the scene. And we all met up. She wasn't in the play, but we all met up and the four of us became extremely good friends. And as you know, both Tim and Prue have recently died, actually. And
Yes.
Sam West, their son, asked both Julian and I to read something at Tim's memorial because Julian and Tim were very, very close friends. And I was very close friends with all of them, actually, with Tim and Prue. And I worked with both Tim and Prue several times. I did The Matchmaker with Prue, and I did a play called What the Butler Saw at the Old Vic with her. And we all sort of foursome, we became very, very good friends. And I must say, I felt their death really quite painfully, because I was very sad that Tim died. In fact, Prue had been ill for a very long time. I mean, she had dementia for a long time, and towards the end, I don't think she really knew who anybody was. I mean, she didn't even know who her sons were, which is very sad for them. But Tim was always very positive, very funny man, and just delightful. We adored them both, actually, and they're a great loss in our lives, really. But Sam's still around and he's doing very, very well, so it's good.
He's they've all got big Finnish Doctor Who connections, so we sort of know who they all. That you mentioned Jamie, your son as well, whose career
Yes,
is also going very well at the moment.
yes. He's in this play in the West End. I don't know if you know that. He's in a play called Inter Alia with Rosamund Pike, which started at the Nationals, now gone to the West End. And then in October he goes to Broadway with it, which will be very exciting, I think. But before he goes to Broadway, he's going to be he's directing Twelfth Night up at Sheffield Theatre, because he directs a lot of plays, Jamie, as well. He loves directing. So touch wood, he's very busy too. My daughter-in-law is also an actress, and she's very busy. And my two granddaughters are not actors, thank goodness. Well, the younger one, I think, doesn't want to be an actress; she wants to be a singer, but along with the rest of the world, mind you. They're both talented and great girls, and adore them. So, yeah.
I was going to say, did you encourage your son to become an actor, or did you try and encourage him out of it, or it just happened?
We tried to encourage him, not discourage him, but encourage him into other areas, really. But I remember one day we went to see him in a school play, and we both looked at each other and said, he can do it. Thank goodness. If he does want to be an actor, thank the Lord, he's got the ability to be able to do it. It was in a play called Another Country he was in, and he was extremely
Yeah.
good. And then he was in another play called Billy Liar, which again, he was very good in. I mean, I didn't encourage him to be an actor because it's a tough life, really. I think you've got to be quite tough to survive it. You've got to be quite resilient and not easily wounded. I mean, that's easy to say because we're all easily wounded, really, by comments, by rejection. You've got to take all those things on board. So it's not easy. But he was always very determined, and he got into Central School speech of drama, and he got a grant for that actually too. So it was lucky. And yes, I mean we've all had ups and downs in our career, but that's part of the deal, isn't it? It's part of the contract that you make when you become an actor. You know that you're going to have ups and you're going to have downs. It's the question of how you survive them and how you deal with them. Luckily, if you meet a lot of supportive, kind, nice people along the way, that's a bonus, really. And most people, I think, especially in the theatre, are nice people. I've found that anyway. I've found people very supportive and very loving in the theatre, contrary to popular belief, and they think we're all bitches. But we really just aren't. Not everybody's at all. Mm.
Well, very lovey-dovey, isn't it?
Well, apparently, yes. I mean, I don't call many people that. I don't know many people who do, actually, but we've got this reputation, haven't we, actors? It's because as an actor, you meet so many people, and inevitably you can't remember everybody's name. So the easiest thing, and the least insulting thing to do is to call them darling, I suppose. I mean, Julian can't remember anybody's name at all, actually, and he's been like that ever since I've known him. In fact, one day, it was at a wrap party for the film The Wuthering Heights that he did with Timothy Dalton and Anna Calder Marshall. And he said, Isla, you know what I'm like. When you see me surrounded by all these people that I've been working with for 10 weeks, I'm going to have to introduce you and I won't be able to remember any of their names. So just sort of melt into the distance or something. So I said, yes, of course, I understand. But I found him at one point surrounded by these people, and I saw him take a deep breath. And he said, this is Fred Grips, that's Joe Sparks, that's Anna who's been on continuity, and that's Joe who's makeup. And he did this full round, and he turned to me and said, and this is my wife, Eileen Atkins, to whom Julian had been married for 9 years. That was
good.
Got
you wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Got you very wrong. But actually, luckily,
could I ask you, of all the jobs that you've done, do you have one that's your absolute favorite that stands out in your memory?
Oh gosh, that's a difficult question. I think the most favorite theatre job I've done was Noises Off, played by Michael Frayn. Terrific. And I loved doing television series. It's quite difficult to do, but it was lovely. The House of Cards, it was the third in the House of Cards.
Yeah.
Called The Final Cut.
Final Cut, brilliant show. Yes, brilliant show. The whole three miniseries was just amazing.
I thought they were too, and I thought Ian Richardson was wonderful. I thought the scripts were fabulous by Andrew Davis.
Give me a bag.
I beg your pardon?
Don't piss me about. Is it in here?
I don't know what you're talking about.
This.
The Prime Minister asked me to get that for him personally.
No, he didn't. I'll take charge of it now, Mrs. Carlson.
Are you going to tell him?
That's the least of your worries.
Look, I know you'll think I'm just trying to save my own skin, but if I were you, I'd wait before I did anything with that. You might find you're backing the wrong horse. What are you going to do?
You'll just have to wait and see, won't you?
Yeah.
And the whole thing, it actually, funnily enough, it got me very interested in politics anyway. I mean, you probably know the shenanigans that are going on in our politics at the moment. I mean, poor old Keir Starmer.
Do you still have a Prime Minister?
Well, the poor Prime Minister is struggling for his survival at the moment, but I don't quite know why people are so anti him, actually. I think he's a good, steady man, and I think his heart is in the right place. I've always been a Labour supporter, and the thought of another party getting in is appalling to me. But however, I don't know what will happen. I think changing Prime Ministers at this moment in time would be absolute and total madness. But listen, what do I know? I'm not a politician, but I just observe from the outside. So there we are.
Just go back to Space 1999, which was filmed in England, but it had American leads, and in some ways it was like an American series. Did it feel like they recorded it differently to most British shows, or was it just very much like a normal show to record?
Actually, it was very much like a normal show. It was absolutely, it just happened to be that Barbara and the Martin were the two American. Martin were the two Americans in it, but they could have been British, but it was no, it was very much like a normal, same sort of crew, same sort of rehearsal, the same sort of non-rehearsal, the same sort of hours we all had. I mean, it was very much like an ordinary show. I didn't. There's no difference. I mean, I've never done a film in America. I've done theatre in America, but I haven't done film, so I don't know. I was
And
jolly
Barry
near.
Morse was Canadian, of course, but he
He
was doing a
was.
British accent, I think.
Yes, you're right. He was Canadian. Yes, that's right. They were very good stories actually too, I think, weren't they, in the Space 1999? And of course, Tony Valentine died a few years ago. He was very funny. He used to make me laugh a lot, and that was very bad.
Now, a couple of years after that, you went into Blake 7, which is what we're keen to talk to you about. The
Yep.
episode Jewel, which is one of the fan favorites for lots of reasons.
Right.
Blake?
No.
The weapon built into that hand will not work here, primitive.
Nor will brute force until I allow it.
His impulse to kill is primitive.
As ours was not?
I'm just wondering what memories you have in terms of either the rehearsals or the filming.
I think that it was interesting just because it was, as I say, it was the duel between Gareth Thomas and Stephen Greif, who were sort of arch enemies, I suppose. I mean, the character I played, this woman called Cinefar, was rather an amazing woman. She's apparently she could blink planets away just by closing her eyes. She was able to waft planets away. I don't know if that's true or not, but I mean, I don't know that if that's still part of the. If have I got that wrong? Is that still part of the story? I think it is. But one thing I do remember was that there was a woman who played my sort of sidekick, an elderly woman called Patsy Smart, who was
Yep.
I can't remember the name of her character, but.
It looks like she would have been a lot of fun.
Well, she hated my costume.
Oh.
She said she can't wear that. It's far too revealing. It wasn't particularly revealing, actually, but she thought it was. And she said, I can't bear to look at you. So, that was a bit strange. Yeah, she was quite a tough old bird, actually. I mean, I'm sure she was very delightful, but it was just a bit, I kept thinking, oh my God, what's so bad about this costume? But anyway, there we are. But she didn't like it at all. So
I think a lot of young men enjoy the costume a great deal.
I couldn't see anything wrong with it at all.
There you go. It's very funny, isn't it? Funny the things you remember. But poor old Patsy Smart, she was delightful, really, and she was very good at what she did. But that's one of the things that I do remember about it. But no, we were
You're going to feel sorry for her. I mean, they dressed her up as an old hag. Your beautiful hair, beautiful makeup, tight-fitting, stunning dress, and she's an old hag. Maybe that's what she was bothered by.
Oh, don't. Oh dear. Yes, she was an old hag, but I think she was used to playing old hags. That's what she sort of specialised in. I mean, I specialise in playing old hags now, so I know the feeling. You know, I play terrible old bats now. I'm with stripped of makeup and all sorts of things. But no, I mean, it was quite nice. It was a nice story, I think. Can't even remember who won. Of course, Gareth must have won in the end, mustn't he? He must have. Yeah.
Speaking of Patsy, she was in Doctor Who a year earlier.
Was she?
Playing an even older hag, and I think it was.
Really?
Correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, but I think it was her idea to take out her false teeth for that part in Doctor Who. And
she was asked to take them out, and they gave her a £5 bonus for removing her teeth.
For removing her teeth.
How fabulous!
Look! There it is, Gov! See? Look!
Hurry with that boat hook.
It's a floater, all right. You've got it, Gav. Oh, my house. You and one that served with onions. Never seen anything like it in all my puff. Oh, make it all sick, that would. Oh.
But that's good, isn't that's dedication for an actress, isn't it? Good
Absolutely.
for her. Yeah, good. That's brilliant. Oh well, that's I'm very impressed with that actually. I mean, it's bad enough when you have to be scrubbed of makeup and have your hair scrubbed back and have a grey wig or something put on you, whatever. But to take out your teeth, luckily I don't have any teeth to take out, so that's a bonus. But maybe next time, yeah, maybe I'll have to. Well, I sort of went bald in Space 1999, didn't I? I wore that bald cap, whatever it was called, with that strange makeup on it. But not the best look in the world, but quite a good look for an alien, I suppose.
Yeah. Now, Dougie Camfield directed the Blake 7 episode. Do you remember much about Dougie Camfield?
Yes, I mean now his son was a boy called Joggy. Then he's called Joggy, and he and Jamie, my son, went to the same sort of play group together, so they became quite good friends. And Douglas was a really lovely man and a very good director. He was very clear, very concise. He knew what he wanted, and was able to tell you very clearly. He died far too young. I think he had a heart attack. I'm not quite sure how he died, but he had a heart attack. I remember going to his funeral because we were all rather shocked that he died so young. And just prior to his death, actually, Julian again had been in a film of Ivanhoe with Anthony Andrews and James Mason and all sorts of very, very good people in it. And Julian played Richard the Lionheart in that, and Dougie directed that. So he was a very, very, very good and very well regarded director, and he was a great loss to us all, actually, I have to say. Very sad that he died so young.
Was that the only time you worked with him?
Yes, it was the only time I worked with him, unfortunately, because he I think he died shortly after that, really, but I'm not sure. It was. I wish I had worked with him more, but I didn't. No, and that way. I mean, he was sort of his direction was always just he knew what he wanted from the camera's point of view, and he sort of left it to you as what your character was, and then confirmed if he didn't think it was right, he'd tell you. But luckily, I think what I thought that I was doing seemed to be okay, so he just let me get on. He just said that he gave a very good note. Actually, he said, "She's very powerful, Cinefar, and powerful people never raise their voice. They don't need to." I thought that's pretty cool, and I've remembered that actually ever since. And in any part that I've played since, where I had to be powerful, you speak quietly and calmly, and it's only as Dougie said, it's only the cornered cat that spits. Very good note.
Besides, as long as he's alive, he'll be the one chasing me, and I know I can beat him.
At least you're not stupid.
I need time enough to get my ship away and recharge the energy bags.
They have been recharged. I will see that your ship gets away.
Another reason why I didn't kill Travis. I would have enjoyed it.
Perhaps there was nothing for you to learn.
So as I say, I've remembered that, and it's a good note to carry with me, actually, for all sorts of other things that I've played, I think.
Correct me if I'm wrong, Philip, but was it Douglas Camfield that cast Julian in The Crusade in Doctor Who as Richard the Lionheart about 10 years earlier? So he cast him in Ivanhoe, but he'd also already cast him in Doctor Who as King Richard.
He did. You're absolutely right. That was before I met Julian, so I didn't really know him. Jean Marsh was in that too, I seem to remember.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, so Dougie.
Absolutely brilliant chemistry between those two.
Yes, it was great. It was good, wasn't it? I know. Yes, the Crusades. That's right. And actually, I think they came recently. You can tell me if I'm right about this, but they recently came across one of the lost episodes of the Crusade. Two.
Oh, no, from the Crusade. One about 10 years ago now.
Oh,
but
really?
it's still fairly new. Yeah, episode 1.
But they have found another 2 directed by Douglas, so that was a bonus. Yeah,
absolutely. What was the name of the first Doctor Who? What was
William Hartnell.
William Hartnell.
Well, apparently it wasn't very nice. I shouldn't say that, should I? I know, to all the fans of William Hartnell. No, I think he was all right, but he wasn't over keen on children.
Or Jews.
Really?
Or homosexuals.
Oh, really? Oh my God. The list goes on. No, I think Julian and Jean found him a little bit tricky because he considered them posh actors because they both worked for the Royal Court, the Royal Shakespeare Company, and things like that. And he thought that they were going to be snobbish, which they absolutely were not at all. So he gave them a wide berth. It was always a little bit sort of sarcastic when he worked with them. I think Jean felt the same. Anyway, there we are. Sorry to badmouth poor William Hartnell's reputation when he's
It's
not
all
here to
right.
defend.
Can't have
I
been too
didn't
bad
think.
because Jean came back the next year and did another
Did
one
she?
with him. Yeah.
Oh, well, there you are. So she can't have minded too much. I don't think Julian did either, actually. It was just kind of rather surprising that, because I said earlier, that people are normally so nice in the theatre and things. But so when you meet someone that sort of gets easily upset about things, it sort of always comes as a bit of a surprise. Anyway, there we are.
Do you know how you got cast? What did you have an audition, or did Dougie just cast you because he knew you?
I don't know how I got cast. Nothing to do with Julian. I think I just got cast because I went in to meet him and the producer, and they said, "Would I play it?" So that was just those are the days when you did meet people, and we, maybe. Actually, I don't think I even did that. I think because Dougie had known my work and had seen various other things that I'd done, as had the producer. They just said I think she'd be right for it, and so I just got asked to do it, which used to happen then. That doesn't happen now unless you're Judi Dench, really. I think so.
So David Maloney, the producer, had you worked with him before or since?
No, I
Well, that
don't
was the
think
only
so.
time too.
I think so. Yes, that happens, doesn't it? Sometimes you just work for the person once. But it would be lovely if you did work for them twice. But as I said, Julian working for Dougie Camfield twice was great. I don't know. Did you ever see that Ivanhoe? That film
I
Ivanhoe?
think I did many years ago. It's been such a long time. I can't remember it.
Absolutely. Well, funnily enough, I mean, Ivanhoe, it's an extraordinary thing. There's a tradition in Sweden that the Swedish nation, sits down and watches Ivanhoe on New Year's Eve. It's become a sort of thing that they
Wow.
do. And
Okay.
Julian and I were in Sweden about 4 years ago. Julian was in one of those conventions, Star Wars sort of convention thing. And there was a restaurant nearby that we wanted to get into, and we thought, oh, this is really nice. And I said, have you got any tables available? So I'm afraid, no, we haven't. And I rather naughtily said, do you know who this is? This is King Richard. He immediately found us a table. So that was rather good.
You pulled rank.
Bonuses to being King Richard. Yeah, no, it was great. Funny that, isn't it? Why would they want Ivanhoe on New Year's Eve? But they do, apparently. So anyway,
Well, it's better
no.
than Australia. New Year's Eve every year is The Village People, You Can't Stop the Music, which is not a good film, but it's every New Year's Eve.
Well, but you see, it's nice to have a tradition like that, though, isn't it? I don't think we've got a tradition like that here, have we? Should be something like whiskey galore or whatever. But no, I don't know. It's nice. It's nice to have a tradition. I'm not over keen on New Year's Eve, actually, though. I don't. I like to just stay at home on New Year's Eve. The idea of being with a whole lot of people that I don't really know is not comfortable for me on New Year's Eve. And everybody trying to be jolly. I like just a quiet New Year's Eve. Other times it's nice going out to parties, but not New Year's Eve.
Gareth Thomas and Stephen Graff, you mentioned them. What was it like working with them, or did you meet the rest of the cast?
I did. Funnily enough, I didn't meet that. I mean, apart from the read through at the beginning, I didn't meet that many of them because, my scenes were so specifically with Patsy and every.
One
I'm
set.
sorry.
Just on one set on one day.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Well, I don't know if it's just one day, but it was certainly on that one set. But Stephen Greif, actually, he and I were two of the people that used to sit on the panel at RADA together. So
Oh, right.
audition people. So, and I knew him. He did a lot of voiceovers too. I think we shared a voiceover agent, so we'd meet at the odd sort of social gathering. Very good actor Stephen was actually. He's a sad loss too. He was and he had a wonderfully rich voice, didn't he? That sort of amazing voice. So, I mean, everybody was really lovely to work with because everybody wanted it to be good. When everybody wants it to be good, they work hard, and there were not very many egos flying around, which is lucky, good. Hmm.
We actually I believe we did the last interview with Stephen Greif before he passed away.
Did
So
you?
very,
Oh,
very pleased to be able to spend a bit of time with him. Lovely man.
I bet you, wasn't he nice? Very
Mm.
had no sort of side to him. He was just very down to earth, very and he enjoyed the job he did as well, which was lovely. I mean, being an actor, so it was lovely. Yes, I didn't know him that well, but I wish I'd known him a bit better. But what I did know of him, I liked very much. And Gareth. Gareth died too, didn't he? He died a while ago, didn't he, Gareth Thomas?
Yeah.
I don't
About
know when he died.
8, 9 years ago as well.
Did he? Gosh,
Mm.
time goes flying by. It's sort of unbelievable, really. But there you go.
So more recently, you've done a lot of theatre. You, as you mentioned already, the Francis Urquhart role in the final cut, which is a fairly major role and a key
Mm.
role. Who are the actors, actresses that you really have enjoyed working with, or maybe worked with several times? I mean, what have been some of your highlights of your career?
Well, I loved working with Ian Richardson and with Paul Freeman on the final cut. They were both terrifically to work with. I enjoyed working. In the end, I enjoyed working with Richard Harris. Actually, Richard Harris did Pirandello's Henry IV in the theatre, and it had been a very turbulent production. I think, there were four different directors on it because Richard managed to get rid of all the directors. There were different designers. Again, he didn't like the designs, and it was Sarah Miles was in the play until he and Sarah had a terrible row and Sarah left. And so the director Val May was brought in and he cast me as Sarah's replacement. And I was supposed to work with Richard before we opened in the West End, and I had to go up because they were on tour with the play, and I had to go up to York to rehearse with them. Richard didn't appear, and all the 2 weeks that were set aside to rehearse in London, Richard didn't appear. He didn't rehearse with me. And both Julian and my son Jamie said, "You can't put up with this. This is absolutely outrageous. You're playing opposite him. What do you do? You've got to say something." But there was something inside me that made me think, he wants me to react like that. He wants me to make a fuss. And maybe he wants to get rid of me too. Because I'd been told that Pirandello's Henry IV was the play that made Richard want to be an actor. So it meant a huge amount to him. And I think, frankly, he was scared of opening and being judged in the part. So he did everything he could to just not be there. And the technical rehearsal came and went without Richard. The dress rehearsal came and went without Richard. The first preview came and went without Richard. They gave everybody their money back. And eventually he turned up for the second preview. And Thelma Holt, who was one of the producers, said to me, "Isla, listen, I know you haven't really met Richard, haven't even met Richard yet, but can you go into his dressing room and tell him that you're very nervous? Because he's obviously terrified." So I did. I went into his dressing room and, "Richard, hello, I'm Isla, da, 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 I'm looking forward to working with you in a minute, I hope. And I'm really nervous." And he sort of put his arm around me and said, "Oh, my dear, don't be nervous. I'll be with you all the time. It'll be absolutely fine." And we did the play, and we did that performance. And then I think it was about the fourth or fifth preview, Richard's character comes on stage and he has a long, long speech, and all the rest of the characters are looking at him on stage. And we don't have a line to say. And at one point, Richard just looked at me and said, "What are you staring at?" Well, I had no dialogue to reply to that. So for some reason, best known to myself, it was quite near the interval anyway, I actually just pulled a line out of Tamburlaine the Great that I'd been talking about a few days earlier and said, "Is it not passing brave to be a king and ride in triumph through Persepolis?" And I did a very deep curtsy and I walked off the stage. So, awful. I got into a bit of trouble actually from Duncan Weldon, the producer, but Richard came up to my dressing room and pretended to be on his knees and said, "I'll never do that to you again." And I think actually he was just sort of rather like a naughty boy. He was just sort of testing me. And I think I passed the test by standing up to him a bit, I suppose. Then we became really, really good friends and good colleagues. And he called me either the diva or matron, because I was quite bossy. He said, "Richard, stop behaving badly. Stop it now. Stop it." So he found that quite. So, and we were supposed to go to New York with it, but it didn't work out. And then we were supposed to do Macbeth together, and that didn't work out. And when he died, it was sad. He died too young too, because I thought he was a wonderful actor, Richard. I actually spoke at his memorial too, which was held at the Ivor Novello Theatre, and all the sort of all the great Irish actors were there, Stephen Ray and Liam Neeson and all Gabriel Byrne. They were all there talking about him. So I felt very privileged that I was able to talk about him too, because he I used to call him the Buccaneer, and as I say, he used to call me matron. So it was a good experience, a scary experience, but it was ultimately very rewarding and enjoyable.
You've been able to work with Julian at least once in Indiana Jones: The Last Crusade.
He's a teacher of medieval literature, the one the students hope they don't get.
Walter, you're neglecting your guest.
Along in a moment, dear. Hard to resist, isn't it? The Holy Grail's final resting place, described in detail.
Have you worked with him in any other time? And what's it like
Yeah.
working with your husband?
We don't often work together, only because I don't quite know why, but I think people, when they know your husband and wife, it sort of changes the temperature of the play, especially if you're not playing husband and wife on screen or on telly. I worked with him in a lovely play called In Praise of Love, Terence Rattigan play. We did that in the theatre, and that was lovely. I loved working with Julian, actually. I found him, because we had a sort of shorthand together, and we also did a production of Hamlet, which our son played Hamlet, I played Gertrude, and Julian played the ghost. So we were a family unit, actually, which was very interesting. And that again was it was interesting because we had the shorthand. We didn't have to explain things to each other. We'd know what the other meant by just a look or whatever. So it was good. I mean, I think we'd like to work together again, but we're a bit too old now, unless the part came about geriatrics living in a care home. Maybe we could play something like that.
Who played Claudius?
A man called Michael Gardner played Claudius, who Julian had worked with at the RSC, and was very good. I mean, we wanted to keep the family dynamic. Julian directed it, by the way, I should say. And we wanted to keep the family as the family. So that's why he played the ghost, really.
It's the right dynamic, isn't it? With you as the wife, him the dead husband, and the son, and
Yeah.
the connection. Wow.
I know, it was very strange. We did it at a place called the Norwich Playhouse, which was fairly out of the way, but it was something that was really enjoyable to do. And actually, I suppose when you asked earlier, is that one of the highlights of my career? That was one of the highlights of my career, being on stage with both Julian and Jamie. Jamie being an extremely good and very moving Hamlet, I thought, but then of course I'm very biased. But it was a lovely experience, and I don't know if we will ever do it again. I'd love to work with Jamie again, I must say. Actually, that's the point. Let's see if we can engineer that. Don't know how. Maybe he wouldn't like to work with me. I don't know.
He's a director. He casts people. He should be able to cast you.
Yes, he should cast me. I'm going to make that note to him. Cast me in a play, Jamie, please. Be good.
Listen, it's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you so much for your time. I know we could talk for much longer, but thank you for your time so far. And it's been lovely to meet you.
It's lovely to talk to you too. And thank you for a nice chat. I've enjoyed talking with you very much.